So welcome to the AFC Virtual Travel Show. My name is Will Reece, and we're delighted to have you all join us today. As we move through the show, we'll be highlighting some of the exciting departures for the summer and fall this year. We have so many more departures, so if you don't see the trip you're looking for, visit our website or take a look at the catalog for the extensive list of destinations we offer. We're all excited as over this next week we have some great departures heading out the door. Destinations like Sedona, Atlanta, Memphis, Nashville, Italy, and Paris. So thank you for taking the time to join us, and let's get rolling. So with travel and safety requirements, we just had some breaking news come about just last night and starting to be enforced as of today. The CDC mask requirement on planes and motor coaches is no longer being enforced. That makes travel so much simpler and easy. It's always good to keep a mask with you, but it is up to you to decide whether to wear it or not. They're not enforcing it anymore at this point, and that's great news. Looking forward to opening travel again. Also, as we look forward, any of our updates as we get them are posted on the AFC website. So one of the things that makes AFC unique is real people and real service. And we've been in business since 1982. That's our 40th anniversary celebrating this year. But we have a team in our office that has over 120 years combined experience in the travel industry. That's pretty much unmatched across the board. So we take great care of our folks from the time they start their booking until we get them back home. One of the other great features for AFC is our home pickup service. So if you're within 40 miles of your airport, your closest airport that you'll fly out of, we will pick you up from your door, take you to the airport, and meet you back on arrival at your airport to bring you home. Door-to-door service that we've been doing for 25 years. And our team of tour managers has been doing above and beyond the expectations for those 40 years that we've been in business. We have a great team in place that are experienced, knowledgeable, and so much fun to travel with. They're very fun to be around and bring a lot of great insights into the different destinations. So as we're looking at some of our show specials for today, if you use the code APR19 when you make your booking by Tuesday, April 26th, we'll bring the deposit down from a regular $350 to $150 deposit. It's a big savings on your saving your place on the tour. Then we also offer a one cabin category upgrade for our 2 river cruises coming up. That's the Wonders of the Danube, celebrating our 40th anniversary, and then our Christmas Markets River Cruise in November. And that one category upgrade could save you between $200 and $400 per person, give you more space in the cabin, and make your trip that much better. We're also offering $20 off your travel protection plan. That's travel insurance. So if you pay for that with your deposit, we'll take that $20 off. But if you book by next Tuesday and use that code APR19, all of these will apply. And if you are ready to go now, we have so many different departures heading out the door in the next couple of months. And you can look at it right here. Everything from Athens to South Dakota, Cape Cod, and Switzerland. A lot of fun different destinations that we're heading out to. This is a brand new tour that we're looking at. This is the Canadian Rail Journey. And it heads out on 2 different departure dates. We have July 16th and August 20th to see the highlights of Western and Central Canada. We start out in Vancouver and stay 2 nights there. Then on day 2, we board a ferry through the Canadian Gulf Islands and get to spend time in the beautiful city of Victoria, British Columbia. Victoria has an amazing English charm as it was originally settled by the British. And from the beautiful floral baskets to the layout of the city, you'll see it on all of our city tour experience. That features the Parliament Building, Fairmont Empress Hotel, and the Inner Harbor areas. And if you're a gardener, we take you out to Bouchard Gardens, and no matter how many times I see it, it's still an amazing place to visit with their over 50 acres of floral arrangements, fountains, and fantastic little tea shop. Then we come back into Vancouver that night and incorporate a city tour the following morning. That incorporates Stanley Park, Gastown, and Chinatown. some of the real focal points of Vancouver. We'll then board the Via Rail. That's a train that takes us up and over some of the beautiful mountains out there and get to end up in Jasper. But we do have that train overnight and incorporate Sleeper Plus berths on board the train. And let the train rock you to sleep. And the following day, you'll be passing the spectacular area around the North Thompson River. Once you arrive in Jasper, we include a visit to Jasper National Park, and that is the largest national park in the Canadian Rockies and part of the Canadian Rocky Mountains UNESCO World Heritage Site. The following day, we take you to the Icefields Parkway and show you the 1,000-foot thick Athabasca Glacier. Then you'll settle into the town of Banff for a 3-night stay, and you'll also get to see magnificent Lake Louise and Yoho National Park. Our U.S. and Canadian National Parks Tour was created to maximize your time in Canada as well as the northern part of the U.S. And this 9-day program includes 3 states, 2 provinces, and 6 national parks. You'll fly round trip in and out of Spokane in eastern Washington before working north across the border and staying the night in Revelstoke. Now, Revelstoke was long time known as a downhill skiing area, and then a large population of Norwegians moved in and created it as more of a ski jumping territory. But we visit Mount Revelstoke before heading east to Banff. Then we have 2 overnights in the beautiful town of Banff that create a perfect hub for trips out to Lake Louise and Radium Hot Springs. From there, we work south to Buffalo Jump, head smashed in Buffalo Jump, and that was home to the hunting grounds of the Blackfeet. They would use the 36-foot cliff to hunt buffalo and use all parts of the animal so as not to waste resources of the land. We'll head south from there and enter into Montana, and if you haven't been to the state before, you're in for a real treat. We'll spend a night in Glacier National Park with sightseeing through the area before we head to Kalispell. Now, Kalispell is a vibrant mountain town that incorporates jaw-dropping views. It's walkable and a great culinary scene, so lots of great restaurants down there. Then you'll drive along the western shores of Flathead Lake, which is one of the most clear blue lakes in all of the U.S., and then enjoy a city tour in Spokane before we fly out. With our Waterways and Northwest National Parks tour, this is a 7-day trip focusing on Washington State. And we'll fly in and out of Seattle, head down to Tacoma for your first 2 nights, and from there, that's our jump-off point for Northwest Trek Wildlife Park as well as Mount Rainier. Now, the Wildlife Park has all sorts of species of both native and non-native species of animals, and we take a tram ride throughout that whole area, seeing buffalo and different species of birds that are protected under the park. Then it's off to Mount Rainier with the 14,000-foot Cascade Mountain and stop at Paradise Inn. That's a beautiful resort and lodge up about halfway up the mountain. Coming back into Tacoma, we then work our way out to the Olympic Peninsula. And the Olympic Mountain Range will be viewed from Hurricane Ridge. That's a beautiful visitor center and park area where you can take all sorts of easy walking trails. And then down into Port Angeles for 2 nights. And that'll be our hub to do a whale watching cruise out to the San Juan Islands. Then we work our way back to Seattle and spend 2 nights there with a full city tour of the city and Pike Place Market, one of the main feature points. And on that ferry ride, you get a beautiful view of downtown as you're coming in. So this is one departure this year. It's a fairly new tour, only been in for about a year now, but July 15th with Deb Howard is the departure. Then Canyon de Chelly. This is truly a unique Southwest Parks experience where you'll visit the 4 corner states. On arrival in Albuquerque, we'll take you to the Acoma Pueblo Sky Pueblo for a guided tour of this 800-year-old town built up on a mesa. On day 2, the touring makes visiting petrified forest as well as painted desert national monuments. This land has undergone immense transitions and change through the ice ages, and at one point, it was a lush tropical forest. Then you'll stay 2 nights at Thunderbird Lodge in Chinle, Arizona, and the following day, you'll spend the entire time familiarizing yourself with Canyon de Chelly. and that's an area where the Navajo lived for over 5,000 years. A Navajo Nations guide will inform you about the many areas within the canyon and their importance to local people. We stop at the Four Corners Monument on this tour, and that's where all 4 states come together, and you can check a few off your bucket list in an instant. From there, it's on to Mesa Verde National Park for lunch and exploration with a guided walk to famous Cliff Palace. And we return home from there out of Albuquerque to wrap up a great 5 days of touring. So, fairly simple tour, great pricing, and departure on September 13th with Brad Wenzel. Then our Black Hills and Badlands tour is one of our most popular Western Parks trips. This has a couple of different departures, June, July, and September. But one of the great features of this program is unpack once in Rapid City. Then we head out to Mount Rushmore and see it in 2 different lights, both during the day as well as the famous night illumination, where National Park Ranger explains the entire construction process and unveils the mountain with lights. We see Crazy Horse Memorial, which has been in the works for decades. And then one of my favorite components of this trip is our Custer State Park visit. And we do a buffalo Jeep safari where we get right up close to the buffalo and learn all about it from our driver guides. Then we head up to Deadwood, learn about the Wild West history, and have dinner at a Chuck Wagon supper show. And that's where they filmed Dances with Wolves. Then one of the other components of this trip is an 1880s steam train through the Black Hills. So multiple different departures, and this is a great 7-day tour. Then, if you want to expand your visit from Mount Rushmore, we stay 2 nights in Rapid City on the Yellowstone and Mount Rushmore tour. This is summer departures of June 9th and August 25th. And Rapid City is known as the town of presidents, and on each of the corners they have statues of the presidents. From there we see Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse. Then we work up to Deadwood and over to Devil's Tower, and it's a beautiful monolith and national monument out in Wyoming. We'll head off to Cody and stop at the Buffalo Bill Cody Museum, and then into Yellowstone National Park from the east entrance, and stay 2 nights in West Yellowstone. From there, we do a full loop tour of Yellowstone National Park, getting to see Old Faithful Geyser as well as the Yellowstone Canyon. And then it's down to the Grand Tetons and get some amazing views of those mountains. We'll stay 1 night in Jackson Hole and then continue on down into the state of Utah and stop in Salt Lake City for the night before flying home. So this is an 8-day program, June and August. Then Seattle and San Juan Islands with an Alaska cruise. So this is almost 2 tours in one. We have 1 departure, which is August 18th. And Deb Howard will be leading this trip. We start out by flying into the city of Seattle and do a full city tour with a visit to the Space Needle. Then we'll head up to the little town of Edmonds, just north of the city, and that's where we'll board a whale watching cruise. And from there, we'll take it up through the San Juan Islands, which is a beautiful archipelago, and get to see some of the orca whale that are making their way through the channels. We come back into the city and board the MS Eurodam. This is a Holland America cruise ship for 7 nights aboard and all sorts of cabin categories to choose from. I definitely recommend the balcony cabins, especially for our time in Glacier Bay. But we'll see some of the main sites in Southeast Alaska, that's Ketchikan, Sitka, and Juneau, and then stop in Victoria on our way back to Seattle. So 10-day trip, making our way up through the northwest and southeast portion of Alaska. With our Colorado Rails and National Parks tour, this is a 9-day trip that highlights some of the best times to see the southwest part of Colorado. And we work our way from Denver over to Vail for an afternoon and get to do lunch in this beautiful resort town. And then it's off to Grand Junction. And we'll stay 2 nights there, making our way out to Arches and Canyonlands National Parks before heading down to Silverton. And that's where we hop on board the Silverton Durango Railroad. We also make a trip out to Mesa Verde, but that'll be the following day as we spend 2 nights in Durango. Making our way to the east, we stop in Great Sand Dunes National Park. This is a large section of sand dunes, one of the largest in the United States. And then 3 nights in Colorado Springs. And that's a chance to see a couple of different sites. The U.S. Olympic Center. We stop at the Air Force Academy as well as the Garden of the Gods. And we wrap up this tour with a fantastic Chugwagon supper. With our Ultimate Canyonlands tour, this is a great way to see the majority of national parks in Utah. We start out with round-trip air into Las Vegas, and then head over to Zion National Park for 2 nights there. Get to see the beautiful canyon and the stretch that they call it the Narrows that goes back through a canal. And we do a tram tour through Zion with all sorts of great information before giving you some time to explore. Then we work our way in a loop around Utah, heading out to Torrey, Capitol Reef, and then Moab for 2 nights. And from Moab, we'll jump out to Arches and Canyonlands, and then down to Monument Valley. Stay a night in Kayenta in Arizona, and then get to see the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. Generally, most folks go out to the South Rim, but the North Rim is home of the Skywalk. And from there, we see Lake Powell and then make our way back into Vegas. So this is a one-time this year departure, October 5th. Now, New Mexico Balloon Fiesta is one of the highlights for most people, one of the most photographed events in all the world. And because last year we had such success with it and it was so popular, we've added a second date for this year. So September 30th and October 7th. And the Balloon Fiesta has 2 main sites. One is the Mass Ascension, where folks come out early in the morning and see the balloons rising as the sun does. And then we come back in the evening and see the balloon glow as the sun is setting and these balloons are taking off in the darkness, the light coming through the balloons themselves, creating a beautiful sight. We work our way from Albuquerque, where we stay 2 nights, up to Los Alamos and the Bradbury Science Museum. And then we head out to Santa Fe for 3 nights. And we also work from Santa Fe up to the town of Taos. And this is a beautiful section where you learn all about the Native Americans there. And we stop at Chimayo's El Santuario. This is one of the oldest settlements, one of the older Spanish settlements in the United States. So this is a great festival tour focusing on the Balloon Fiesta in September and October. Our America Music Cities tour. This is a wonderful trip that flies into St. Louis, and you'll get to see the iconic arch as part of the city tour there. Then we head off to Branson, which is the live music show capital, and that's where we see 3 live shows, and that includes one on a boat. We get to do the Branson Belle Cruise and dinner show. Then en route to Memphis, we head down to Little Rock and get to see the Clinton Presidential Library and check that one off your list. That night we're in Memphis, the birthplace of the blues, rock and roll, and soul. And we tour the home of the king of rock and roll at Graceland. That's the 14-acre estate of Elvis Presley. Memphis has a lot of history that's more than just music. We have a city tour and a visit to the National Civil Rights Museum. At night, we'll find ourselves dining on Beale Street. That's home to many of the famous blues clubs. And you may decide to stay later and take in some of the B.B. King style blues. We change up genres when we leave Memphis and head out to the east to Nashville. And that gives us a taste of country music. We'll have a city tour with a visit to the Country Music Hall of Fame and stay at the Gaylord Opryland Resort. And that's pretty much an attraction unto yourself where you have to drop breadcrumbs to find your way back to the room. It's such an expansive hotel. And we'll also attend the Grand Ole Opry on this tour, and sometimes they do get surprise guests on that trip. But we have 2 departures, one coming up this week, and our next is October 13th. Now, Cape Cod and the Islands is our most popular East Coast trip, and this focuses on going out directly to the Cape, but we have 1 night in Boston, which allows you to settle in from your flight. So we arrive in Boston and do a Boston City tour, and that incorporates Faneuil Hall, Old North Church, and that's where Paul Revere made his famous ride. And then we head out to Plymouth to see the Plymouth Rock and the Plymouth Plantation, as well as the recreated ship, the Mayflower II. Then it's off to either Yarmouth or Hyannis for the trip, and staying 5 nights in one of those 2 locations. Each day we'll make our way out on different day trips, one to Provincetown, just to the north. Then we'll also take ferries to Nantucket as well as Martha's Vineyard. In Nantucket, we go to the Whaling Museum and learn all about the whaling history out there. And then head down to Rhode Island, and you'll get to see the Newport area with a city tour and a visit to the Breakers Mansion. So we have departures from June all the way through October. Our Coastal Maine Lighthouses and Landscapes tour was brought in last year, so a fairly new tour to us. But we've been planning these itineraries for a long, long time. And you'll fly into Boston on this for 1 night stay. On the Boston tour, one of the main differences from the Cape Cod trip is getting to see Fenway Park. And this is one of the oldest baseball stadiums in the entire country. From there, we work our way up to Portland or Kennebunkport for a 5-night stay. And one of the main highlights of this trip is going out to the Portland Head Lighthouse. And you can see that pictured in the upper left-hand corner. Beautiful stretch out on the jagged coastline to see all sorts of great views. From there, we go to Walker's Point in Kennebunkport. We also do a lobster boat cruise. And on that cruise specifically, you get to learn all about the process of fishing lobster as well as the handoff coming back into shore and turning those into the famous lobster rolls you can see up in the right. So we do a lobster clam bake on this tour, and you get a chance to taste lobster in all sorts of different ways. Then we do a day trip out to North Conway and take the North Conway Scenic Railroad up to the White Mountains. And one of the other main feature points on this is the maple syrup house tour, where you learn all about how they make maple syrup. So this departure, 4 different dates. You have June 11th, September 24th, August 13th, and October 1st. Our New York City and the Hudson Valley tour. This is just 1 departure this year, September 23rd. And our New York City tour features all the main sites in the city. We do a visit to the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island by ferry. We also get to see a Broadway show as part of this tour. Then Central Park is an area you definitely can't miss, and we do stop there, as well as the 9/11 Memorial. Then we work our way out to the valley and stay 3 nights in the Hudson Valley. That'll be our hop-off point to head up to Hyde Park, which is where Franklin Delano Roosevelt's historic site is. His home and library are located there. We go out to New Paltz, and that's home of the historic Huguenot Street, where some of the early settlers came. And then a trip out to also get some of that flavor of maple syrup at a farm tour and tasting. So we incorporate a Hudson River cruise on this tour as well. So please join us September 23rd. With our Brandywine, Philadelphia, and Amish country, this is a 6-day program departing September 25th. And we've changed this up a little bit from the past. This is now an Unpack Once experience in Philadelphia. So we fly in and out of the same city airport in Philadelphia. The change also allows us to be more familiar with the city and spend our time touring instead of packing up and moving to different destinations. We get the city living experience, and we travel out to the country to see our sights. On our first full day, we start a tour of the city of brotherly love and get our bearings. A lot of the historical sites are within easy walking distance, and that's a really enjoyable way to experience Philadelphia. Then we head out to the country to Valley Forge and see where George Washington's troops came together to form a true army, and that was also where Washington established his headquarters. The next day is dedicated to one of the country's most beautiful botanical gardens. That's called Longwood Gardens. And we have a half day to stroll through the conservatory, watch the fountains dance to music, and walk along the 1,100 acres. Then we take off for Nemours Mansion and tour the opulent house and gardens. Both of these places were owned by the DuPonts, and you learn some of the history of this successful family who was involved in creating smokeless gunpowder. The next day, we learn about the Amish and what it means to be part of that community. On our tour of the Amish farmlands, you'll learn how to tell the difference between an Amish and non-Amish house. And we'll also stop at an Amish home that sells beautiful quilts and handmade goods. Now, a typical Amish meal with piles of chicken, mashed potatoes, macaroni, and all the fixings completes our day, and that's part of our farewell dinner. Our Chicago All Access Tour. This is a guaranteed departure. We just created it as guaranteed to head out on May 20th. And we've been getting calls all day of people ready to travel, especially with the mask mandate being pulled down. So May 20th is our upcoming departure in just a couple of weeks from now. So sign up for that. This is an Unpack Once tour of downtown Chicago, but also to the outskirts, Illinois as well as Wisconsin. And we get a chance to go out and see Frank Lloyd Wright's home and studio. That's out in Oak Park. And that's where he lived from the late 1800s to early 1900s and did most of his work at that time. We'll see the Art Institute of Chicago, as well as Wrigley Field, home of the Chicago Cubs. Then we have 3 different types of city tours that are incorporated. We do a motor coach tour of the city, and then we take a riverboat. We do a river cruise to learn about the architectural structures of Chicago. And one of my favorite aspects is the Untouchables tour. That's the gangster tour of Chicago to learn about the 1920s and 30s in the city. And we visit the sky deck at top of the Willis Tower. So you get a great view of Chicago. But don't miss the deep dish pizza and all the goods that Chicago has to offer. Now, our mystery tours are some of the more unique trips that we offer. And folks have been trusting us to plan these tours for them for 40 years. These are great itineraries that incorporate places that you may not think of right off the bat when you think of travel. But we've been incorporating some really fun, exciting components for these trips. Now, how it works is you sign up for a certain departure date, and we tell you how to pack, the average temperature in the area, and then tell you when your pickup's going to be. Everything else is left up to mystery. And people have so much fun guessing at where we're going next. But on your arrival into the airport, the tour director and tour manager will meet you at baggage claim. Then they start an exploration along with you. They kind of give you clues along the way, help you guess, but each step is a mystery. And these are so much fun, and these are some of our top-selling tours. So sign up for any of our departures between May and December. We are really excited to be celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. It's been a lot of work in the making getting together this program. This is the Wonders of the Danube River Cruise. And this is a celebration of all of the efforts and work of the people involved in AFC for the last 40 years. And one of the ways we've always loved to travel is by river cruise ship. These are beautiful boats that float very calmly along the different rivers and canals of Europe. This departure is October 29th, and it's a 9-day tour on board the Amadeus Star. And that was launched in 2019. Wonderful design. Pretty much the main differences between ships are the design of the furniture layout, but this brand new ship makes you feel right at home. One of the components we offer on our river cruises is wine and beers included with dinner. We also have free Wi-Fi on board. And we'll work our way from Budapest, beautiful city, split by the river on 2 sides. So you have Buda on one side with the famous castle, and then the Parliament building on the Pest side. From there, we head over to Bratislava, and then off to Vienna. And we have city tours by motor coach in each of those destinations. And then we also provide an optional tour to the Schönbrunn Palace, and that's where the Habsburg dynasty was located. We make our way to Dürnstein, and you can see that in the upper right corner. Beautiful little town there. And then that's also home to the Wachau Valley. That is a wonderful wine region. From there, we head out to Linz, and Linz is our hop-off point for a full-day excursion to Salzburg if you'd like to join. Then a full day of Danube cruising if you decide to stay on board. And we work our way up to the northwest into Regensburg. And this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and spend a day touring that part. Come back into Passau and then fly out of Munich. And if you'd like to extend, we do a 2-day extension up to Prague. So great program celebrating all the years of travel, and October 29th is this departure. Now, the wonders of the Danube River Cruise. This, as I mentioned, all sorts of different unique aspects of touring, but some of the benefits of river cruising is that you get to settle into your ship for your whole stay. Makes it nice and easy to get on and off. Generally, we're docked right in the heart of the city, so you can go out and explore on your own if you'd like. But we have touring components every single day that are offered up to you to make the most of your journey. Great service on board, and then also just the incorporated features I mentioned before, wine and beers with dinner, free Wi-Fi, and you get to feel right at home in the comfort, not only of your beautiful stateroom, but also with everyone else on board. And the cruise director and tour managers do a fantastic job helping you along your journey. The Passion Play with Bavaria and Austria. This was a tour that was scheduled for 2020, and due to the pandemic, we did move it 2 years. The Passion Play itself was moved. And so we've kept in line with our scheduled dates, so July 12th, August 9th, and September 7th. All three of these dates do have limited space. We bought a certain number of tickets and we're close to selling out. But this 9-day program features some of the best of Central Europe. So we'll fly into Munich and do a full city tour of the city of Munich, and then work our way down to Neuschwanstein Castle and get a chance to do a photo stop there. Now, the reason for the Passion Play was back in 1634. There was a plague that hit the city of Munich and pretty much all of Europe, and it took a third of the population from Munich, completely annihilated. Now, the town of Oberammergau, just south there, promised to put on a performance dedicated to the life of Jesus Christ if the town was spared. And so every 10 years, they've been performing this play in this beautiful little town in the Alps. So we get to see the play, and it's broken down into 2 parts. You have the first half, which goes from about 2 to 5. We'll break for dinner and come back and enjoy the evening portion of the show. From there, we head out to Salzburg. And in Salzburg, we get 1 night to experience the city. We do a city tour, as well get to learn about the different components around Salzburg, like Mondsee, where the Sound of Music had several scenes filmed. Continuing east, we do a portion of the Danube by river cruise, just a couple of hours to give you a feel, and then 3 nights in Vienna to wrap up the tour with a city tour and optional trip to Schönbrunn Palace. Now, from Vienna, we work our way out to Prague, and that's an optional trip, 2-night optional extension. So multiple departure dates coming up this summer. Now, you could also piggyback 2 trips in one, reducing some of the airfare. And July 20th is our Alpine Swiss Villages tour. And you could go back to back with the Passion Play and this trip, which gives you a full insight into the heart of Switzerland. Now, it's a 6-night stay in the town of Wengen. Now, Wengen is up in the mountains and beautiful views from there. But this tour kind of gets away from the city life and gives you a greater appreciation for the outskirts within the country of Switzerland. And we buy a Berner Oberland pass for everybody on tour. And each day we go out on different modes of transportation. And Switzerland has some of the best transportation methods throughout all of Europe. So each day we'll travel by train, rail car, cogway. We'll do a lake cruise in Lake Brienz and get to see the best of what Switzerland has to offer. So this is July 20th, and go ahead and sign up. Now, Tuscany Culinary Experience is brand new. This is our first couple of departures, but tours that we're very well familiar with when it comes to Italy. I'm really excited to be leading the October 11th departure. So this is an unpack once in Chianti. So we stay 7 nights in the Chianti region, just south of Florence, in the whole region called Tuscany. Now, each day we'll go out on different excursions. We'll start out by a truffle hunt, and this is a chance to get to learn all about the truffles and the famous cuisine in Italy. We do a visit to a Tuscan estate owned by one of Florentine's oldest politicians, Nicola Machiavelli, and go out with a local farmer and his dog to hunt down truffles. Then we also incorporate an organic cooking class with a pasta maker at a 13th century castle, and that is Castello Vecchio Maggio up in the hills. We do a visit to Volpaia, the town of Volpaia, which is surrounded by a castle wall, and do a wine tasting there, and then head south into a different region to Pienza and Montalcino. Now in Pienza, we do a pecorino cheese tasting paired with wine, and it's a little bit different from the standard Chianti that you get in Tuscany. So once we leave Pienza and the cheese factory, we work our way to the town of Montalcino. And Montalcino's had a long tradition of pairing wine with music. So we have a sommelier that tells you all about the different wines in the region, but also why they do this tradition of playing music for the vines as they grow. We'll do a lunch at a saffron producing farmhouse just outside of San Gimignano, and then we'll spend a portion of the day in San Gimignano getting to see the famous town of towers. And the two photos on the right, those were taken right in town in December while I was out there checking out all the different sites. So this is a great tour I'm leading on October 11th, and then we also have a November 15th departure. So a couple of points I wanted to make regarding our tours. We have what are called guaranteed prices. And as you've seen some of the fuel surcharges increasing, the fuel costs all around the country, we have locked in our price. So once you have deposited for your tour, your price is locked in. No matter whether the river cruises or motor coach companies charge us surcharges, those don't get put on to you. We take care of those for you. We also have what are called guaranteed departures. And those are tours with the GD symbol on our brochure. And that means there's enough passengers confirmed to operate. That includes the May 20th Chicago All Access Tour. Then we provide a low-cost travel protection plan, and that has a cancel for any reason benefit. We are also a part of the USTOA. That's the United States Tour Operators Association, and that provides a $1 million traveler's assistance program. So really great features to booking with AFC. Not only that, but I think some of the things that separate our company, as I mentioned before, home pickup, so door-to-door service definitely separates us from a lot of the competitors. And then the people who are taking care of you. And we have a fantastic staff in our office handling your phone calls, emails, and messages. And these are the folks that are going to help you begin your journey. So you can call us at 1-800-369-3693. Email Joe, Holly, or Claudia at afctours.com, or visit our website, afcvacations.com. But make sure when you're making your booking by next Tuesday, you use the savings code APR19. Thank you very much for attending the show today. Again, we'll send out an email with the recording of the show to your email addresses. But please add us on Facebook and keep an eye out for our next show. Thank you again.